What is up, y'all? Will here with Schedulefly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast brought to you by us here at Schedulefly. Super simple, web-based restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service and all at a low price point. So software works. It's simple. We take great care of you. My personal cell phone number is on our public website on like 3 pages. And if you call or text, you'll get me on my flip phone and I'm happy to help you. And we have never raised our prices since we hung our shingle out on the internet on May 1st, 2007. So because we're not venture backed or owned by private equity, we can do things the way we want to do it. And we do it with simplicity and great service and low cost. So if you're on pencil and paper or Excel and you got scheduling headaches, we got some very simple aspirin for you. Go to schedulefly.com, click 30-day free trial. And again, my personal cell phone number is there. You can call me or text me anytime. If you are on another scheduling software, lots of great options out there. They're all owned by private equity or venture capital, which means they keep having to increase their prices to please their investors. And we offer a very simple, inexpensive solution to make scheduling easy. So we'd love a chance to just have the conversation. Schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial, call my cell. That's enough about Schedulefly. Let's talk about Restaurant Owners Uncorked. We have an awesome opportunity in my first conversation with Frank today, so I'm looking forward to getting to know him. But this is like episode 600 and something now, and we appreciate you all listening, and we appreciate this opportunity, Frank, to talk to you and share your story and talk about the book you have coming out and just talk business and life and everything else, man. So thank you. Just take a second and introduce yourself.
Thanks for having me, Will. My name is Franck Desplechin, and introducing myself. Wow, I've been in US for about 12 years now. I've been in hospitality industry for about 26 years. Started as a chef, all the way since I was 14 years old, and became a pastry chef and eventually became a director of food and beverage. And the journey was in the world of Michelin-star rated restaurants all the way to 4, 5-star hotels and resorts in this country. So big travelers, big foodie. And now it's been 2 years. I've been on the next step of my journey, writing this book, and hopefully sharing a philosophy that will resonate, and helping the leaders of tomorrow and the student of hospitality.
Well, I'm glad you're doing what you're doing. And there's a lot of notes I took about things I'd like to talk to you about. And probably most of that's just going to come out naturally through this conversation in the course of talking about why you're doing the book and what's in the book. Things are changing in hospitality in many ways. And a lot of that is just the folks that are working in hospitality now, and the industry's changed a lot since you got started. There's a lot more focus on mental health, balance, well-being. You know, there's always been a work hard, play hard culture, which leads to substance abuse and lots of other issues. The industry is really moving in the right direction, I think, in a lot of ways. The workforce today has a very, very different expectation of the workforce that we've known for a long time. So there's a ton of stuff I want to ask you about. But the first thing I always like to ask, or the only thing I ask everybody, is when and why did you get started? So you got started when you were 14, but
Yes.
what led to that?
Well, I very early on, I guess I one of the lucky one to know very early on what I wanted to do. I know it's not easy for everyone, and I got very lucky growing up in France that my parents were both amazing cook. I mean, you living in France, it's hard to not appreciate cooking, back then. And, I guess I just sparked the curiosity, and I just, followed the curiosity. My parents were nice enough and patient enough to show me the way of doing things. And I realized that I was, actually becoming good at something without really putting so much effort and having so much skills. And I just continue. There's also, there's one I like to believe there's always something that attracts you. So the kitchen and cooking was attracting me, but there's also something that somewhat rejects you. And I think the school system was something that I don't think I belonged in the school system. That was not something that I felt like I belonged. So a little bit of rejection from the regular school system, and then an attraction from cooking allowed me to articulate to my parents, this is what I wanted to do, and the rest after just created my journey.
Okay. So you realize early you like cooking. Where in France did you grow up?
I grew up in Brittany, so on the west side of France, just I would say southwest of the Mont Saint-Michel or Normandy. Most American will know Normandy,
Oh,
and so west side.
okay. Um, it's an interesting dynamic. The number of people that know and love and are good at cooking, and the percentage of those people that think that that means that they can be an effective restaurant owner, the difference is significant, right? There are a lot of people that are like, I'm a great cook. I know how to cook. I love cooking and I want to own a restaurant. The reality kicks in after they own a restaurant. And I feel like there's a lot of restaurants that, they fail for different reasons, but there's a very big disparity between what it seems like it might be to run a restaurant and what it's really like. And I will dive into that today. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
came up through the ranks and worked your way up through. Um, so congratulations, first of all, on finding something so early that you were passionate for. And all these years later, you are clearly still passionate for, man. That is like a very small percentage of people that find that, particularly that find that early in life and that it sticks. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like I say, I'm one of the very lucky one to have found out early, and I think the passion has somewhat evolved. Obviously, I'm not anymore as much in the kitchen as
Yeah.
much as I used to be. But I realized that I got a very very deep passion for coaching, mentoring, taking a young cooks like I used to be, and trying to teach them the way in order for them to eventually doing their own journey, and teaching them the right foundation, the proper work ethics, because it is not an easy industry to work for, to work with, and to work through. So I really believe that it had evolved for me in some fashion, and now with my company and my consulting company and the book, I'm really trying to get on a bigger platform and just share the recipe, the secret sauce that has made my journey so fulfilling. I'm trying to find a way to articulate in English, and hopefully we'll be able to to translate the right way.
That's interesting. So did you write the book in English or are you writing it in French and then getting it
I
translated?
have to say, well, I did write a book in English. I don't think my brain can now process much in French. I do understand. I can go to France and like nothing never happened. But when it comes to this, I just could not find a way to write it in French. I left France very early on. I traveled everywhere in the world. So English after the past 12 years has been, I would say, the primary language my brain is processing thing. So it just comes naturally to me in English. Plus I didn't know how to write a book. I never written a book before. So I hired a book coach, in order to help me go through the process of writing a book. Cause, you kind of have, a million ideas in your head. You don't know which one you want to actually make a book, and you don't know if that idea is worth making 250 pages with. So you just need someone to help you, guiding you into the steps of the journey in order to be a book writer. So I did hire a book coach, and she didn't speak French, so that made the things easy.
Amazing. What is the name of your book? Tell everybody the
The
name.
name is called Relentless Growth. It's cultivating a chef mindset for professional fulfillment.
Relentless Growth. I love that. We want to get into us. So that's interesting. A growth mindset and a chef mindset. All right. Well, I want to get back into your sort of a little bit more through your career and kind of what led to all this. So you start at 14, you're working in kitchens. So then I'm assuming you're working your way up the ranks and you leveraged, as so many people do, the ability to work in this great industry to travel, you said, around the world. So you
Yes.
got, okay. All right. Um, when did you when did you know? Okay, so you knew you liked cooking, and then you started working in restaurants, and you're like, okay, I'm being paid to do something. Did you know early on this is it? Like this is where I'm going to spend my career?
In the industry, yeah, I very early on. Like I said, I, I felt for many years in my childhood, and we're not here to be in therapy, but I spent many years in my childhood to not necessarily finding a place where I fit in. Like I was always feeling like somewhat of a version of an outcast in some version of thing. I played soccer; it's a team sport. Never really feel like I was being the chosen one, or you didn't feel like you were good at anything. But cooking was, like I said, I felt like I fed right in. I just knew I had I had an ability to just doing the thing right from the get go. And when you get that feeling, obviously you want to continue to persevere. So I did that. And as I continue, I started the first 2 years as an apprentice, and I was just in a casual restaurant. I would say semi gastronomic restaurant back in the early 2000s. And then after I entered the world of Michelin-star, and the world of Michelin-star rated restaurants opened my eyes in a way that I knew right there and then, this is, oh my goodness, this is kind of what I can aspire to be. The recognition there is when you have the Michelin star, becoming somebody. I always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, that because I was being somewhat rejected throughout my childhood, I felt that like I'm going to just defy the odds and just starting to be chosen. And in order to do that, I'm just going to continue my path. So I don't get me wrong, it was hard. There was a lot of adversities. There was a lot of complication, challenges, a lot of long shifts, exhaustion. But I've never felt at any moment that it was not the right path for me. Never.
Did you tell me, excuse me, tell me a little bit about we've had chefs on here that have worked in Michelin star restaurants, but I've never really dove into what that means. Can you just kind of break down the whole Michelin star system and what it means, and how you get a star and what that means to the restaurant and to the chef when you have one?
Of course. Yeah. So the Michelin star word is the world that it's you strive for excellence from day in to day in day out. You normally, that has evolved over the years, but from France to United States, this criteria that's being created by the guide, which is the Michelin guide. In France, there is another guide called the Goemio, which is as coveted as the Michelin guide. But in US, there's the Michelin guide. And the way it works is you're going to have inspectors, which you don't know who they are. You have no idea who they are. You can try to figure it out who they are, but you rarely know who they are. And they will come to your restaurant. And in order to gain the first Michelin star, you either you make enough noise in the world of the industry that they're pick an interest and then they're coming to check it out, but you just don't know when. Or you're getting a fan crowd that's going to be sending letters to the Michelin guide and say, hey, you should check it out, this restaurant. There's many ways that you can start being on the radar of the Michelin guide. When that happens, they're going to come probably a minimum of 3 to 4 times in that year only. And those 3 to 4 times, based on the criteria, you're going to be, I don't know how many, I would say, standards that you have to check. Based on that, they will be able to rate and figure it out. If there is a level of consistency into your service, into your food quality, then they will be able to give you 1, 2, or 3 Michelin star. Now, 3 Michelin star, it is perfection, and they're going to come probably close to 8 to 9 times a year. So you have to be on your A game at any given moment, which is where you probably, I'm kind of answering your question, is you really have to be, because you don't know when they're going to come. The day that you're not on your A game could be the day the inspector is in your room and suddenly you don't get your Michelin star and you just realize, what the hell did I do wrong this year? I thought we were there. And then you just don't know. You either have it or you don't. It's not like you're being called to say, this is what you missed. This is what you need to work on next year. So you just really fall into the chef and the general manager of the restaurant to really push the standard as far as possible and pushing the agenda in order to seek out perfection as much as possible. Day in, day out, each service one by one, and you do that 365 days a year. So you're living in that world. You're living in that world when mistake is not an option, and excellence is the live and breathe the philosophy of excellence day in and day out.
That's such a tricky thing because what an amazing thing to win a star or two or three. But boy, the pressure that comes with that, if that's what your ambition is and seeking perfection like that, I've got to imagine that that comes with quite a bit of stress, probably eventually can cause burnout. I'm
Oh
just
yeah, no, absolutely,
surmising this
absolutely.
stuff. I don't know, but I just can imagine like, I mean, imagine my business. Like if every day we were like, we have to get every single interaction with every single customer perfect, or we're not going to get whatever it is that, I'd be like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I think it would just wear me out. I think I can run a good business, a successful and quality business, but I feel like that's probably got, I mean, I guess there's pros and cons, I would say probably come
Mm-hmm.
with running a restaurant for those standards. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons. You have there is a common mistake when people feel that you will gain Michelin star when you are being consistent. Every chef in the world will tell you we have to be consistent, but the common mistake is people think they have to be consistent in delivery and execution, and the goal is really to be consistent in experience. It's
Mm,
the experience that has to be consistent. Obviously, hot has to be hot, cold, cold, crispy, crispy, and the chewy, chewy. But it's really the consistency in experience. You have to be the chef. Can you imagine your chef? This is where you're going, but you have an entire army behind you, below you, that has to adopt that same mindset in order to go in the same direction. So you
right.
have to be able to influence an entire crowd of people. And sometimes it can be in some of the three Michelin-star rated restaurants that I got a chance to experience, or to stage. There's an army of 70 people in a three Michelin-star restaurant to serve 40 guests. It's crazy. There's two employees per guest that's going to join you. And all those 70 people, again, live and breathe the philosophy of excellence. And that's what they seek out. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of exhaustion, burnout. It's crazy. You have to have a certain mindset. You have to have mental fortitude in order to continue to do that. And you're being doubted permanently. You're being questioned permanently. You're being put down permanently because you could be the one that just brought the entire team down because you actually were not on your A game. And the peer pressure is also real.
Absolutely it is. Okay. Well, this is interesting. I appreciate that. I've never really
Of
asked that
course.
question. Um, let's, um, let's talk about your book.
Yeah, of
So
course.
when did you decide to write the book and just talk about the process and what you hope to accomplish, um, with this book? And I'm sure there'll probably be more, but like you've spent the last
Yeah.
years or so working on this as a consultant. So tell me what's going on, man.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there was one single moment when I decided to write a book, but I think I just turned 40 this past November, and I guess I've always had in my mind somewhat of a version of me that would be writing a book someday when I know what the hell I want to write about. I just felt as I continue my journey and stepped out a little bit of the kitchen and starting to mentor young chef and then front of the house employees to become their own manager and restaurant GM. I guess the mentees, if we were to refer to them, I'd label them, the mentees made me feel like I had something to offer. Like I had something more because my philosophy and my way of leading was resonating with them. And there was a natural and organic following that started to create. Like I went into properties and suddenly say, Franck, where are you at now? I say, well, I'm right now, I'm in Connecticut now. And they say, oh, okay. Are you looking for a job? Are you looking for people? I say, sure, I look. And then they just like come and work for me because they enjoy the interaction we had for so many years we worked together. So my mentees made me realize that I had something more to say. So not really a single moment that I did. I did have. Moving on into the next step of this is um, I felt the industry as I was getting into the world of consulting and went into many hotels and resorts across the country from a lot of amazing brands that are now on the top 10 brand in the world. And I was seeing systemic issues. I was seeing shortage of staff. I was seeing burnout, exhaustion. I was seeing the quality, what I felt that the quality of leadership was not there. And so I just say there must be something we can do. And obviously there is I would say delusion when you think that you're the one person raising your hand and say, I'm going to change the industry by myself. You have to have somewhat of that mentality in order to trying to get into emotion. And when you start that, you're starting to narrow down the messaging and what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve. And the book that I've decided to write, and I'm going to get to it in a minute as far as the breakdown of this book was really is how can I inspire or give somewhat of a blueprint to the student of hospitality that are at school right now, that are in CIA. How do I reach them to know they're about to embark on a journey that can be as fulfilling as it is difficult? And give them somewhat of I'm a normal person. I grew up in France. I came to United States and I've had adversities and I've got my own challenge, but eventually I like to think that I succeeded in many ways. And I just felt that this kind of book did not really exist on the shelf. I read many books, self-help book. That's all I read, and books from chefs. A lot of books from chefs that are written right now. It's a lot. I would say 90% of them are memoirs. They're just their story, but they're not necessarily providing blueprint. So they're not necessarily they're seeking out aspiration, but they're not necessarily telling you, hey, this is how I'm going to challenge the status quo. This is how I want you to think. This is the kind of question I want you to ask yourself in those moments that you're going into this process yourself. And then also a big aspect is we're living in a world of impatience. We have created that world of impatience, and we've got to take accountability. I'm a millennial, but I'm also very close to being a Gen X, and I think we demanded fast, we demanded speed, we demanded immediate, and now we are almost judging, and we are almost judging and telling the new generation that they're not necessarily patient enough, but we created that. And so the book was a lot about creating patience, understanding that there's things that you cannot have a shortcut. Fulfillment, there's no shortcut for it. Love, there's no shortcut for it. The difficulties and understanding and growth, it's not something that you can just open an app and tell you what it is. This is something you have to experience. And you see a lot of young student of hospitality that they finish their school, they graduated, they arrive at work, they're 20 years old, and by 24, they want to be the next restaurant general manager without really gaining the experience they need to gain. So like I said, this book was really trying to explain in my own way and articulate that things that are meaningful will take time. If you really want them to be meaningful, they will take time. And if you decide to skip some stages, which you can, anyone can, it will catch up with you at some point or another, that you will realize that you should have taken the time to learn this, or you should have been in a place where it's important to know that aspect. So I think I think that's pretty much in a nutshell what the book is trying to create, while I'm trying to illustrate with my own story. And then I share there's about 3 storylines into my book that are kind of intertwined. You will understand by the time you get to the end of the book that there was 3 storylines. The first one is really what I believe starts and until the end is you start from what I call the curious lens. It's just follow your curiosity, define your vision, follow your curiosity, and then as you go through it, you prepare your mind into embarking on the journey. And then after you're trying to season your ambition and understanding what goes with it, you redefining the taste of failure. You understand what adaptability is, crafting characters. It's like all the steps that I believe that are more mindset driven, that are actually hard skill, that you're trying to develop. And then as you go, the second timeline is you follow me from a young kid in France that got curious by my mom cooking on the Friday nights on the stove, and my dad who was picking up the recipe book on holidays and understanding both aspects of this. And then you follow my own journey. Not every story is, you don't have my entire career, but you have a lot of my stories that are illustrating my point in order to show that to provide some relatability. Is ready to provide some data, and you follow me all the way until I become an entrepreneur. So you really kind of follow my journey in some ways and trying to illustrate my point. And then the third timeline is each chapters has the subtitles and 3 to 4 subtitles that are breaking down in layers and conceptual the chapter in order for you to not feel lost. As you're reading the book, you're really going to feel like you can read the book now, and in 5 years from now, you find yourself stuck, that you can grab the book again and you will find the same mechanism. It's a complex, layered in. I simplified it in a way that relates, that connect and articulate. By the time it comes out on October 14, it will be 2 years in the making. So there's a lot of intentionality going into this first book.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Are you self-publishing it or did you get a publisher?
Yes, I tried the route of traditional publishing and hybrid publishing, and I don't think we need to fall into the debate of what goes into it, but I felt like we're living in a world that if you don't have a following, you don't necessarily have a chance. The world of publishing is harsh. They would tell you, if you were to ask them, they would be the first one to tell you that you start the process by saying, we have no interest of it publishing your book, so trying to convince us. And so I tried to go there. There was a huge investment up front that was required that I didn't feel like I just didn't feel that was something that I wanted to do at the moment. So when I asked the question, I said, okay, is it possible to be published after we self-published? Absolutely, yes. I say, okay, well, what is the rule of thumb how many books in how much time do I need to sell self-publish in order to spark the interest of a publisher? And so the rule of thumb was anywhere between 8 and 10,000 copies within 12 months of time. I said, okay. I say, if that's the goal, you will understand as you're reading my book that I decided to go that route. It's just, okay, let me prove everyone wrong a little bit here. Let me just try my own thing. I have built a network. It's healthy. It's good. I've got following. And now I want to follow that route. And I want to be able in a year from now, I would love to still be traditionally published. I would love to have the stamp of a nice publishing house to put on the spine of my book. But right now, one step at a time. Right now, let's put the book in the right hands and make sure there's an impact.
How are you, tell me about how you're creating a following. Like, do you have, where will people find you? LinkedIn,
Yes, so
Instagram?
I'm very very visible on LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is pretty much there. As I'm going into my book launching campaign, I've also hired social media management, and they're going to take over my LinkedIn and they're going to take over my Instagram page. It was a lot for me to run my company and at the same time trying to write my book and at the same time doing everything I was doing. So I started delegating a little bit to a company. So I worked with PR by the Book, which is a publishing PR media company that helped me doing a book launching campaign. And they're going to take over social media. So LinkedIn is where you're going to find me the most. After that, I've got 2 websites. I've got cheffranck.com, which is fairly new. It's about a month and a half old, which is really my label, my brand is if you want a piece of me. And then it leads into Incrementum, which is the name of my consulting company, in the world of the industry. So the following has been born by just, networking, taking care of people, and the people that I brought on board with me. I'm kind of, influencing their own network. And I think the word of mouth is starting to make a lot of the noise. And I guess when you have word of mouth and you don't spend as much cash in order to be known and followed, I think it's the best compliment you can get. It means you're on the right track, and it means that what you have to say resonates.
Yeah, absolutely. I followed you. I follow you on LinkedIn, and I think good for you for doing this thing self-published. And if you can get your own following and you can sell a lot of books that way, maybe you don't even need a publisher. It's that the publishers are a gatekeeper, and that can be challenging. We've done two Restaurant Owners Uncorked books over the years that we self-published, and we put on Amazon, and based on those numbers, we could have gotten it published. But we when you write something that you is going to be, I can tell it's going to be very highly valuable, and it's going to be great content and useful and meaningful for people. Um, it's going to do really well, Frank. I
It
have no
has
doubt
to,
about that.
when I was going into seeking out and searching for publishing, because that was the route I wanted to take. I didn't know any better, so that followed that route, and the investment up front was so significant. And I just say, my goodness, how do people do this? Like, how do they invest so much money into their own work that they spend? It's like you spend money in something that is yours. And you just like just the concept of it doesn't make much sense. And so when I was talking with my wife, we were talking, I said, man, if I was willing to put X amount of cash into this traditional publisher, maybe I can cut it in half and actually investing in my own thing. So that's what I did. The last 8 months of this book, I could have released it in January. If I wanted to, but I've decided to hire a developmental editor and giving him 6 weeks to dissect the entire book, be open to feedback. And then after that, I went to a copy editor. In the meantime, I was working in parallel with someone that designed the cover, someone that designed the interior, that's someone that, like I have a self-publishing assistant. So I've hired a team of people that are amazing in their field in order to help me put the best product out. So regardless of finding a traditional publisher or not, I did spend the money and the time and energy to get the right product out by the time it comes out. And as you were mentioning before, it is the first of three books. Because I think I'm a huge movie buff, and I think everyone loves a good trilogy. So
What's your favorite trilogy?
oh my god, there's so many of them. There's an original trilogy that is no longer a trilogy, but Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. There's so many of them. But yeah, huge movie buff. Therefore, trilogy, and so that's the first book, and it's gonna be setting up the foundation of the second and third book based on how the first book goes. And I also want to be able to find my voice. You know, when you write a book, you kind of go through the process of the imposter syndrome. You're really trying to figure it out. It's like, who am I kidding here? I'm just this guy working out of this kitchen table, trying to write a book and think he's going to change the industry. So you really go into those states, and as you're writing the book, and I would not be preaching the world of relentless growth if I was not going into an evolution myself. So those are real moments and real things that happened throughout the process of writing it. And I'm putting a lot of me into this first book in order for me to have the intentionality and energy to write a second book, which I already know kind of where I'm headed with it. But the first book is about you. When you read the book, I'm talking to you. The work is within you. And once you have adopted at the end of this book and you have adopted the relentless growth mindset, by the time you read the second book, if everything goes according to my vision, by the time you read the second book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
You've mentioned the word mindset a few times.
Yep.
So there was a book called Mindset that I read years ago by Carol Dweck, and she talks about. Are you
Mm-hmm.
familiar with that book?
Oh, yeah. It was of my competitive titles.
Yeah. She talks about having a fixed mindset or a growth mindset, and the importance of having a growth mindset to achieve our goals and realize our dreams, and to grow as people and as friends and family members and work colleagues and bosses and everything else. It takes that growth mindset. Let's talk about that, and why that's such an important theme within your work.
Yeah, of course. A mindset is really the core message of my book. It's really the growth mindset. I did read the book from Carol Dweck. It was, as you're going into the process of writing your book and doing what they call the blueprint. You have to find everyone think they have the next best thing in the book that nobody never written before.
Right.
And so as you're going to the blueprint, you have to find and imagine that your book is on a shelf with five other books. And what is it that you're adding in the conversation?
Mhm.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
the approach that I took to it. And Carol Dweck mindset, I would say in the world of growth and fixed mindset is an instant classic. And I read the book. Normally you kind of just educating yourself about those books, but I actually took the time to read all those competitive titles in order to understand how I wanted to be different about it. And so what I really enjoyed about Carol Dweck's book is really, she really go very, very deep, almost scientifically deep into the differences. While I connected heavily and he educated me a lot, I also find that there's a lot of the language she was utilizing. I mean, she has a PhD, so the level of clarity and the level of writing and the style of writing, I found myself sometime kind of fading away from some part of the book because it's like this is way too complicated for someone like me.
Sure.
And
Great.
so and maybe because I never went to high school, that might be the reason. But I like to think that you needed to have a certain level of understanding of English and the world of mindset in a scientific way to really capture 100% and extract 100% of the lesson of that book. So I connected heavily about it as an individual reading it, but I did not necessarily connect as someone that wanted to extract as much lesson as I wanted to from this book. So to answer your question, the mindset is, the growth mindset is you've got to reinvent yourself. You got to evolve. If you stay within your boundaries, I think it's a waste of your identity. It's a waste of your talent. And I think there's so many things that goes when you have adopted, the growth mindset. Um, I would say the biggest thing is the people that are afraid to take risks, the people that are afraid of failure.
Yeah.
When you realize that the best athlete in the world, the best, most successful entrepreneur in the world, they have no problem taking risks. They are not afraid of taking risks. They are not afraid of failure. And that comes with a growth mindset is really, okay, let me just try this. Oh, that didn't work out. Okay, what did I do? I have to learn from this. And then let me now start over, but now I'm starting from experience. I'm not starting from scratch. And you just kind of keep moving and moving and moving and progressing. So the mindset is really what I'm trying to articulate in my book as a core message is really a work within you and understanding the steps of how you can prepare yourself to develop a growth mindset.
Yeah. The, and for those of you listening that haven't read Mindset, it's a great book, and it's just the foundational principle, in my words, is just simply that, a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. A fixed mindset is, I'm not good at math or something. I mean, we read this through, my kids are older now or getting older, but I mean, our school, we read this, with each of them as they came through lower school, and the school would have the parents read the book and they were trying to teach growth mindset. And so the example I always remember was math, like, I'm not good at math. Well, that's a fixed mindset. I'm not good at math. Therefore, you assign yourself as not being good at it. And you say, therefore, it almost gives yourself an excuse not to be good at it, right? Because that's not, just because it doesn't come natural to you doesn't mean you can't be good at it. The growth mindset is, this is challenging for me. Cool. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to lean into this and figure out how to improve in this. And that's true. As you said, it might be in math or it might be in athletics. I mean, some of the best athletes in the world, professional athletes, weren't the best players at their sport when they were young. They weren't the most naturally talented. It's almost an advantage sometimes if you're not as talented and you have a growth mindset, because the talented people that comes naturally lean into their talent and aren't going to put in as much work oftentimes as somebody who has to work harder. But then the person who has to work harder is used to doing the work and seeing the improvement. Therefore, they keep doing the work and they keep improving. Whereas the person with natural talent starts to go, wait a minute, why am I being passed by these people? I'm better than them. And then all of a sudden they have the wrong mindset, which is fixed, which is I'm good at this. And so in some ways it's um, it can really help to not be great at something or not be as naturally talented, as long as you have that growth mindset. And
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
the
Tom Brady is the perfect example of that.
perfect example.
It it,
Six
it just could
round.
not, it
Yep.
could not be more true in that regard. It just, I mean, I don't think we need to rewrite the story of Tom Brady or retell the story, but is the perfect example of what you're referring to. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, you take the, and look, well, I'm glad you have that. It's sort of the overarching theme, Frank, because, particularly in restaurants, and I know in the summary I wrote, they sent me for this, that it mentions how, your book, and I do believe this is true, has principles that really any CEO in any industry could learn from. And I've always said that, man, if you can run a successful restaurant and like do it consistently, you could probably run almost any business, because I believe that restaurants are one of the hardest businesses in the world to really get right day in and day out, because there's just every aspect of the economy flows through restaurants. You have to learn more skills in running a successful restaurant than in any industry. You're basically putting out metaphorical fires, like on the daily, sometimes actual fires, but the things you have to learn and to master and to do so under like with cool and calm is like highly, highly transferable to any other job. I mean, it's why I think it's so important for teenagers to at least spend a year working in restaurants, because it just kind of helps you bone up on so many things. But the mindset piece of this is is an absolute must if you're running successful restaurants and you're going to do that for a long time. The economy keeps changing. I mean, the industry keeps evolving, but there are restaurants that don't evolve, and therefore they don't end up succeeding. They might
Hmm.
succeed for a while, but something shifts in the economy, some shifts in the workforce. And if you're not having that growth mindset to evolve and change, you're probably not going to be successful in this industry.
No, I agree. Eh, there is so much that can be extracted from the world of the kitchen, the world of restaurants, for anyone to apply. I mean, the most recent example of this that actually transcended the world of industry is Unreasonable Hospitality from Will Guidara.
Yeah.
His book was, I don't think he intentionally wrote this book to go beyond the world of the industry. I just don't think he did. He really was in the customer service, but now this book, his philosophy and the way he approached things and the way he actually took the time to write it, it's like when I was reading for the first time, this book came out and I was reading it, I just felt like, this is right. This is exactly what I was thinking. And then why this? And wow, he find a way to articulate it a way that I could never do. So they, and now it's being used across the entire world and edited and translated in so many languages. And so I commend him for this. It's just, was so much, and you realize how much it was needed, this book, in the industry and in the world of customer service. There was not really anything for a long time that was articulating what it was articulating. So yeah, I believe that the in kitchen the pace is unforgiving. Communication has to be super sharp at all time. The execution has to be so precise at all time. You got to be able to trust your team to do the right thing, but at the same time, you have to be able to create a structure that hold the team together. You kind of and if you're not good at any of those things, you're exposed immediately. Immediately you're exposed, and suddenly you have the review that are flooding your social media, which will have consequences that are almost impossible to recover. And so there's no buffer. There's just no delay. It's absolutely immediate. So you got to stay steady under pressure. You got to be able to develop your team to be able to perform on downtimes, but able to perform on pressure. I see a lot of hotels that are in the five-star Forbes environment. And while the hotel is packed 100% occupancy, they're going to thrive. Everything is running like a good oiled machine and everything works perfectly. And then as soon as you drop to 50% occupancy, then suddenly the mistakes start to happen. And you just say, how is that possible? We're actually doing less people in the restaurant and we're making more mistakes. So you're trying to find a way to navigate through this and creating an environment when you live and breathe excellence, that you are taking ownership of what you are putting out. And that was success of me as a chef. Is I was known in my own circle and my own people at some point. Like my name was on the menu, but if I had one dish on this menu, that was a miracle. Like I was just influencing and I was telling my team, and I say, okay, Mikey, you're going to be doing this dish because you work hard these past 3 months. So next menu change, you take care of this. I'll give you lobster. This is fall season and give me your best. And so obviously you still vouch for everything that goes on the menu, but you give them the chance to be their own chef in their own way. And then they're going to be able to develop tough skin because they're going to come and present their first dish with lobster on fall season. And I'm going to tell them and say, I don't know what that is, but you're going to need to go back to the drawing board. And then you're just kind of going into these things, you're coaching and you say, okay, what did you think of doing this? And what about these technical skills that can make your job faster? And all of these serve one purpose. It takes a lot of time to do this. It's not something that happens immediately, but with enough patience in this game, this is what's going to give the difference between a chef that is behind his pass every single Saturday night and the other one that can be sitting on his couch at home and the service goes excellent. Because now the Mikeys of the world, the Nicks of the world, the Matties of the world, they're putting a dish that they created and they're so proud and take so much ownership that they will do it perfectly regardless if you're here or not. You've created and influenced the environment, and now they actually have that mindset when they want to produce excellence. So it is really the difference that I believe any CEO in any industry can take and learn from the life in a high performance kitchen. It really, that kind of accountability and consistency and presence that can transfer in any industry, because I believe any performance industry or any performance company would want to seek out the same result.
I'm glad you mentioned Unreasonable Hospitality. I had written a note here to ask you about that book. It has taken on quite a life of its own. I have a friend whose wife works in a medical office, and he called me a couple weeks ago, and he said, Will, Katie is reading this book, and I thought you might want to know about it because it's like a lot of the things she's telling me is the stuff I hear you talk about, like how y'all run Schedulefly. And I'm like, well, what book is it? He goes, it's called Unreasonable Hospitality. And I'm like, oh, dude, I know it well. Your wife's reading it in her doctor's office. And he's like, yeah, the whole office is reading it. And they're talking. I think that's great because our bar as a culture has gotten so absurdly low for customer service and the customer experience and the human to human customer interaction. And that's an advantage for businesses that actually embrace that. It gives you such a leg up because it's so rare, but it's a disadvantage just for our culture as a whole because we all live through that where we just 9 out of 10 businesses that we interact with have bad customer service or, just low standards. And, reimagining that through books like his and books like yours is a good thing, whether you're in hospitality or not. I will ask. I'm curious because you mentioned mentors earlier. Who are some of your mentors that you've really learned a lot from and that you stay up with?
It's you know what? Well, I've been asked this question many times in my career, and I I don't know if I have a mentor that has followed me all this time, but I think I have one at the very beginning of my career that I found myself anytime I was moving on from one job to another job is for whatever reason finding my way to him and asking, and he said, "Do you think it's the right move? Do you think I'm following the right path?" Like I needed almost like a stamp of validation that I was on the right path, and that was Olivier Belin. He's at L'Auberge de Glazic in Brittany, has 2 Michelin-star rated restaurant now today, part of Relais Chateau, and is probably one of the 100 best restaurants in France today. I go see him anytime that I go back to France. There's another one called Jean-Luc Rabanel, who is also in France, And funny enough, I was there in 2008 and 2009 when we earned the second Michelin star. I actually developed this whole part on my book. And now years later, he gave away back his stars. He kept the restaurant, everything's good, but he gave back his stars. He said, I don't want the pressure anymore. I don't want to deal with this nonsense anymore. And he kept doing. His restaurant is still full. He's still doing great, but he doesn't want to deal with it. And he's actually Jean-Luc Rabanel is the one that made the honor to write the foreword in my book. And I'm very, very excited. I'm so honored that he decided to do that, because when I was there, I was just a young punk, about to be a sous chef. And I was just, challenging him as much as he was challenging me. I was arrogant. I think I knew better everything than him. And he put me in my place many more times. But I was grateful for the experience, for what I learned. And he really taught me, to become a leader. And I would say, um, a response that I give often about mentors is I've learned a lot by chefs that were not doing the right thing. Like I've
Yes.
learned so much by people that were just doing the wrong thing, making the wrong call, or just treating people poorly, because he actually helped me navigating and stay away from this mentality, from this behavior, from this attitude, in order to really becoming me. I just remember how I felt when I was mistreated, how I felt when I was being bullied. And so I've decided, I say, man, I don't want to be one of those chefs. And so some of my mentors are the chefs that were, actually terrible at their leadership.
Yeah. Gotcha. Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of that in this industry for a long time. And, I think by and large, that's becoming a thing of the past. Um, People don't want to work in that environment anymore. Tell me about podcasts, man. Do you listen to podcasts?
I listen to podcasts, not as much as I would want to, but I listen to podcasts. I read a lot of books. I do a lot of audibles. Like anywhere I go somewhere, it's audibles. And I've just started the second edition this week of my newsletter. Just came out today. So I've been asked to write a newsletter for a long time, but I never felt either the need or the time, or I just didn't feel like, I was still kind of wondering if there was room for me, because I think the industry is saturated with newsletter and everything. And I just say, wow, am I going to have a voice there? Am I wasting my time doing this? And I've released my first edition on August 6th this month. I called it Frankly Speaking. So that's the name that I call newsletter. And it forced me naturally, because it's not like I have an issue, to take a stance and to kind of challenging the status quo and speaking in a tone that might just spark the argument, or just I just needed to. So frankly speaking, kind of give me a shield in order to apologize for talking the way I talk. But at the same time, I think I'm calling out what it is, and I'm saying what it is. And I think I have enough experience in the industry to stand behind my words. And today at 11 o'clock, my second edition came out, when we kind of talking about something that I've seen a lot recently, which is a lot of silos in the workplace. Kind of the lack of teamwork and cohesiveness. So I'm trying kind of developing a little bit on this on my newsletter. So it's freshly new. As far as newsletter podcast, I've listened a lot, of yours, 600 episodes something. I've probably listened
Yeah.
probably about, maybe I would say, I'm not gonna lie, probably 15 to 20 only. I've got a long way to go. But I do listen to a lot of motivational speeches. I follow a lot Gary Vaynerchuk, Patrick
Yeah.
David, Simon Sinek, huge fan.
Yep.
Tom Bilyeu, huge fan. So I do follow that, and like I say, I read a lot of the books. I'm a certified coach, speaker, and trainer from John Maxwell, so I know a lot of John Maxwell content. So like I said, this is all I read. Besides going to movies, all I read and listen to is self-help and self-development.
Uh, as a movie guy and as a trilogy guy, what do you think about the Godfather trilogy?
The Godfather is something that will never be replicated. It's
Yeah.
just, it's timeless. It's
Yeah.
timeless. You could watch it today and still enjoying as much as if you watch it back in the 80s. It's just timeless. I think Francis Ford Coppola did something that nobody will ever do again.
Um, the one thing he did that I wish he hadn't done was put his daughter in that third movie, but the, there's a show called The Offer. Um,
Offer?
have you heard of this show?
No, I haven't actually.
Dude, if you like that, if you like the Godfather movies, go watch The Offer. It's one season. I think it's on Amazon Prime, and
Okay.
it's about the making of the first Godfather movie. And
Okay.
it's got Miles Teller in it and a few other like well-known actors, younger actors that play, the producer and the director and the people like that play Francis Ford Coppola. And it is phenomenal. I tell everybody that I know that likes The Godfather, I'm like, you have to watch this show.
Okay.
Watch
I'll pick
it.
you up for it. I'll definitely watch that.
It's like 8 episodes or 10, 8 or 10, whatever. I've watched the entire thing 3 times. Like, and I mean, it's only been out for like a couple of years, but I've watched the
Okay.
whole thing all the way through 3 times. Freaking love it. So that's my little tip for the day. But,
Yeah, sure. I'll take it for sure.
where do we get Frankly Speaking, your newsletter?
So you can either sign up on my newsletter on my website, cheffranc.com, or you can just subscribe on my LinkedIn. That would be the two places you can find it and you'll receive it.
And cheffrank.com is FRANCK.
CK, yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Do
Sure.
you ever do, I think I know the answer to this question, but like, do you do seminars and things like that for restaurant people?
I've done a couple, but ever since I moved in Connecticut, I'm a father of two beautiful girls, 4.5 and 18 months. And if anyone has kids, you realize that the first 2 years of their life, you don't own your life. I'm aspiring. There's a beside putting my book into the right hand and trying to help the industry, there's also a small percentage of me writing this book that was personal and somewhat a little selfish. Is I want to use it as my business card. I want to be able to get into the right speaking engagement. I want to get in the right just the right room in order to speak.
Yeah.
So that was my way of taking my time to kind of, like I say, find my voice and find a philosophy that I adopted, and this is mine, and people resonate with it. Yeah, I would love to be going in seminars and stuff like that in order to help the industry as much as I can. And I've also have aspire to be on a TED Talk or a TEDx. I would love to do one. That's something that I think I will be heavily headed in that direction.
The reason I asked that is, this just kind of hit me as we were talking. So it's not baked out, but it's something that maybe you and I could continue a conversation on. So we have, call it 5,000 restaurants, that use Schedulefly around the US. And we are going to introduce something, that I think we'll probably call Fly Club, but it's basically when you're in Schedulefly not for the employees, but like for the owners and managers, you're logged in, you've got all the stuff that we provide, but then there's a tab called Fly Club and you click that. And now you're in almost like a Reddit forum, user generated content forum with all of the people that use Schedulefly all over the country. Right. And the idea would be having a place for restaurant owners to share ideas, help each other solve problems, like, because your head's down, sleeves rolled up, like you're so focused. I mean, I have people that listen to this podcast. They're like, dude, I listen to your podcast for therapy because it's nice to know I'm not the only one dealing with all these problems. But, and then restaurant owners sometimes can't even talk to their local peers about their things because maybe their peers are competitive and they don't, like there's all this stuff. So I'm like, well, why don't we just have this, place where all of our customers can come together and be like, hey, I've got this problem. Anybody know how to solve it? And maybe you're a restaurant owner in Connecticut, but some restaurant owner in Boulder, Colorado is like, oh yeah, we had that issue and here's how we dealt with it. Right. So
Mhm.
the reason I say that is like, I would find that is also a place as that evolves to where we bring in outside resources and speakers and people to go, hey, on this day at this time, Chef Franck is going to do, a seminar on this topic, and, you're invited to attend. And then that gives you the opportunity to connect with, people from all over. And
Of
I mean,
course.
uh, is, is that like something you'd be interested in
Oh,
doing?
absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I crave for those things. I
Yeah.
think I am comfortable in front of an audience. I have a message to share. I listen very well when it comes to problem of the industry. I like to think that I'm resourceful. And I mean, just here, I'm currently in a big project that I'm working on for the past 5 months. It's in Lexington, Kentucky. It's
Uh-huh.
called Kinland. So it's a race horse track business, and they're about to open their fall meet in October with the racetrack. And so we're here to help them developing their team, training the team, and help them kind of getting into the next step of service in the race horse track business. And this Friday, I actually going to have a 6 hour leadership training for the entire core of their leadership. So I'm developed something based on my conversation with the vice president of hospitality and the CEO of the company about what they want to see, and I just customize an entire presentation with just keywords and trying to build this team together. So by the time the open fall meets, we just kind of continue and evolve. So yeah, I'm doing some version of it on a smaller scale, but I'm certainly comfortable to be part of seminars and trying to preach the good word, I would say.
Done. Okay. Well, we'll stay in touch about this then, Frank, because I mean, we're not there yet, and we have some other things we got to do before we do this fly club thing, but we are going to do it. And I just envision this as a place for like restaurant owners to help each other, thrive and support each other, and have experts on certain subject matters come and
Yeah,
offer,
absolutely.
meaningful advice and wisdom and coaching and training and things like that. And that gives you exposure for your
Yeah.
brand and your book and all that kind of stuff. So
And whatever you need on my end, did you please just raise your hand. I'm happy to support the support this. I think it's lacking in the industry, and I think it could severely use it.
well, we will wrap this up. Frank, I want to thank you. And this has been thoroughly enjoyable and thoroughly educational and very inspiring. You're a very inspiring dude. You have an infectious energy and
Thank you,
enthusiasm
Will.
for what you do, and that comes across very well. Um, for those of you listening or watching, I am trying to do this every episode now. I'm asking you to please give us a star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcast or YouTube or wherever. Not many of you are doing it because I look at the ratings and I'm seeing that everybody else is thinking somebody else is doing it. So Frank, you do it too. Like we need ratings because
Okay.
I'm asking for ratings because I've never been good at this, but I'm learning I need to. And the reason I need to do it is because the more ratings we get, the more the algorithm puts this content in front of more people. And I mean, this is, we're a top 5 restaurant owner podcast. I'd love to be a top 3. And the way we get there is we keep creating great content. And then we get people to engage with that content. So y'all, please give us a rating, comment on it, whatever you want to do. Y'all are amazing. We really, really appreciate you listening. We will keep investing into finding great people to have incredible conversations like we did just now with Frank. Frank, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was awesome to discuss with you and just like-minded people together in the same room. That just it's refreshing, and it's great to talk about the great things in our industry.
Absolutely. Amen. All right. Thank you all for listening. That's a wrap. More episodes coming soon. See ya.